The Vietnam War. In the 1960s and 1970s, the Vietnam War was a major conflict that lasted from 1955 to 1975, and was fought between the Communist government of North Vietnam, supported by the Soviet Union and China, and the government of South Vietnam, supported by the United States and its allies. The war was one of the most controversial and divisive conflicts in American history, and it had a profound impact on the United States and the world. The origins of the Vietnam War can be traced back to the end of World War II, when Vietnam was divided into two countries, North Vietnam and South Vietnam. Along the 17th parallel, the Communist government of North Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh, sought to reunify the country and establish a communist government in South Vietnam. The United States, however, saw the spread of communism in Southeast Asia as a threat to its national security, and it became increasingly involved in the conflict in order to prevent the spread of communism. The United States first became involved in the war in the early 1960s, when President John F. Kennedy sent a small number of military advisors to assist the South Vietnamese government. This involvement gradually increased over the next decade, and by the end of the 1960s, the United States had over 500,000 troops in Vietnam. The war was fought using a strategy of attrition, with the goal of wearing down the enemy and forcing them to the negotiating table. The war was fought on a number of fronts, including the mountainous regions of the north, the dense jungles of the south, and the cities and villages of both North and South Vietnam. The war was characterized by brutal fighting, heavy casualties, and widespread destruction. The North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong, the communist guerrilla force in South Vietnam, employed guerrilla tactics, making it difficult for the United States and its allies to achieve a clear military victory. The war also had a profound impact on American society, as it was one of the most divisive conflicts in American history. Millions of Americans, particularly young people, opposed the war, and there were widespread protests and acts of civil disobedience against the war and the draft. The war also had a significant impact on the economy, as the cost of the war was high, and it led to inflation and economic uncertainty. The war also had a significant impact on the people of Vietnam. It was a brutal and devastating conflict, and it led to the deaths of an estimated 2 million Vietnamese civilians and over 1.5 million North and South Vietnamese soldiers. The war also led to the displacement of millions of people, and it left the country in ruins. In 1973, the United States and North Vietnam signed the Paris Peace Accords, which officially ended the war. However, fighting continued in South Vietnam until 1975, when North Vietnamese forces captured Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, and reunified the country under communist rule. In conclusion, the Vietnam War was a major conflict that lasted from 1955 to 1975, and was fought between the Communist government of North Vietnam and the government of South Vietnam. It was one of the most controversial and divisive conflicts in American history, and it had a profound impact on the United States and the world. The war was characterized by brutal fighting, heavy casualties, and widespread destruction, and it had a significant impact on American society, the economy, and foreign policy. The war also had a significant impact on the people of Vietnam, and it left the country in ruins. The war ended with the signing of the Paris Peace Accords in 1973, and the reunification of Vietnam under communist rule in 1975.